Hi, welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. If you've seen my previous reviews, I've reviewed the Spectrum DX7, and my previous main radio was the Futaba 14SG. And that was a great radio. The only thing I never really... I got on fine with it, but I never really was happy with was the little jog dial thing. So when they came out with the 16SZ, which is like a slightly lesser version of the 18SC with the full touchscreen, I was like, yeah, that's the one I want. So that's what I got. And it was a reasonably good deal. It was just under £700 in the UK, and it comes with a receiver, the little S-Bus receiver, the R7008SB. Now that's £100 for the receiver with the radio, and then I sold my old radio, so it wasn't too much of an expense. So this is the box that it came in. Just wanted to show you that, and I'm just going to run through some of the features that they show on the box. So obviously it's 2.4 gig. It's got a 4.3-inch colour LCD touchscreen. 15 character model and username, 30 model memory. It's got the SD card slot, so basically I swapped over all my model memories from the 14SG on the SD card straight onto here. That all worked okay. It's got a built-in speaker, it's got speech on it, digital trims. Obviously you can have airplane, helicopter gliders, multicopters, all sorts. S-Bus programming, got an S-Bus port, a trainer port, I think it's got a headphone jack. So those are the main features. Oh, and of course it's multi-protocol within Futaba's protocol, but I'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, that's the box. Now this is the radio, and it's a nice looking beast, and I'll just fire it up. I've just brought it out of the cold, so it's a bit misty. So there you can see it all lit up. The screen is lovely. It's not as responsive as like an iPhone, and so sometimes when you do a press it won't activate. It will take perhaps a second press, but once you get used to it, as you saw there, I did absolutely no problem at all. So I've selected a model there, yes, and then it's changed the models. The display, got all your trims, your timers. The main feature is the timers, to be honest. They work really well, and everything you need is on there. Really great. It's a 16, I think it will do 18 channels on S-Bus, but obviously it's a 16 channel radio. I'm never going to use that number of channels. That'd be if you was into jets. That would be quite useful. You've got two buttons. You've got it's called a user menu monitor button and a home exit button, which is quite handy to have fixed buttons as well as the screen, and in conjunction works perfectly. The on-off system is a bit weird. It's got two buttons, and I thought that it is like a safety thing. So if I just press one button, it won't go off. So if I accidentally go for this trim and press a button, it won't go off. You have to press and hold it, and then it will switch off. I'll just switch it back on. Excuse me. And the other option is to just do a quick press of both buttons and it will go off. So that's quite a nice little safety feature, nice and easy to use. Obviously you've got your momentary switch, and then everything else is a 3-position switch. So every single one of these is a 3-position switch, apart from this back one, which is just a 2-position, and that's the momentary. All the coloured bits on here I've added. Obviously you've got your left and right dials, and also you've got your sliders at the back here, and they've got indents and bleeps to tell you centre, and the dials have got bleeps to tell you the centre. No indents, but you get a little bleep. So that all works quite well. The system setup is very similar to the 14SG in the layout. It's not how I would have done it, but I kind of get it. So you've got the systems menu, where things like battery information, because obviously this is I've got a Li-Fi battery in this, but it comes with a nickel metal hydride, and you can tell it which kind of battery, so the voltage is displayed correct, and the warning bleeps come on at the correct time, etc. Display settings, hardware settings, S-Bus settings, timer, range check in there under system menu. Then you've got the model select menu, which is pretty obvious. That's where you select your models. And then you've got your linkage menu, which has got things like servo reverse, subtrim, endpoints, trim settings, throttle cut, all different things like that. And then there's a second page with a couple of other bits. But then over here, you've got this called the airplane menu. And when you go into that, you've got dual rates, your exponentials, all your mixes, snap rolls, air brakes, gyro, condition select, and things like that. Now, I would have liked in there perhaps the subtrims and endpoint adjustments as well, because that's the kind of screen, when I'm setting up a plane, I'll be using the endpoint, subtrims, reversing, dual rates, exponential. That would, to me, that would make sense to be all on the same screen. Now, there is a user menu, and you can do exactly what I've just said. So for each individual model, you can set up their own user menu. So where I've just said I'd like those things to set up the plane, you can do that on each plane. In reality, you kind of get used to where things are. So like I know that if I go into if I want AFR's expos, I know exactly where it is in the screen. So I know if I go into the linkage menu, timer's down there. Obviously it does helicopters, gliders and things like that. And the good thing about this nice screen is that when you're setting up things like crow braking or butterfly mixing and things like that, it's very visual. So when you're choosing a switch, it shows you on the screen which switch, and then it shows you activating the switch actually on the screen. So it's a very visual thing, and it just makes the setting up process of a plane and all the functions a lot better, more similar to the Spectrum system as it happens. So that's all great. Overall build quality is typical Futaba. It's quite a nice light radio. It's very comfortable in the hand. The gimbals feel lovely and smooth. I've got a smooth. I've converted this to smooth, non-ratchet, and it's lovely. Obviously, as you can see, I fly mode 1. That's an easy conversion, although this is a mode 1 set. You've got your headphone jack on there, and underneath the little flap, you've got the square trainer port and the S-Bus port, which is like a little servo port. I have had this apart, and it looks really nice inside. It's easy to get apart. You just got your usual screws. There's a couple of rubbers here which you can take off to get to tension adjustments for the gimbals and things like that. I've got this set up pretty close to how I want it now, and I'm really liking it. All the switches fall nicely to hand, and the sliders and that works an absolute treat. Overall build quality, I'd say, is really good. The only thing I kind of wanted, which the 18SZ has that this doesn't have, is adjustable gimbals. In that there's on the old 9ZAP that I used to have and the 18SZ, there is a little screw there which you screw in and out, and you can actually tilt the whole gimbal in or out. So you can, instead of the stick being straight out, it actually comes out at a little bit of an angle, and that kind of suits me when I fly, or it would have done a little bit more. But as it turns out, this is quite a comfortable radio for me, and it seems to fit my hands actually better than the 14SZ, the 14SG did. So although I would have liked to have that, I'm not worried about it. I do like the black matte finish. It's really nice. The aerial system is nice and sleek. It's still this flippy uppy thing. I think I would have preferred a fixed aerial like on the Spectrum. I know that is a space saving thing, but I prefer this over the fragility of that. But so it all works fine. Range is not an issue with Futabas. Never had an issue before with them. And I like the way the stand is kept from older models, and there's like a bit that juts out the bottom, so when you lay it down, it keeps the radio actually nicely off the ground. I'll just turn it off. The battery compartment is same as the 14SG. You've got your SD card in there, and I say I've got a little lifey in there. Lasts for ages. I was concerned how the battery would last, and it doesn't last as long as the 14SG, but it's whereas like the nickel metal hydrides is you charge it every time you fly. This is like I've had it now for a month and a half, and I've charged it once, so pretty good battery life even with the big screen. And I've got the brightness sort of like on for a long time and at its brightest, because if you, in my opinion, it's going to have a nice bright colour screen, then have it lit up as long as possible so it doesn't keep dimming on you, and have it nice and vibrant so you can see it in the daytime, which is great. Fastest 18 channel, fastest 12 channel, fast multi, fast 7 channel, SFHSS and TFHSS. So pretty much anything Futaba, you will be able to fly it no problem at all, and it's easy to set up. And things like, I think I've got it, excuse me, Yoda. Things like this little K110 helicopter now runs the Futaba FHSS protocol, so I can use this radio to fly this little heli with, and that works a treat, and that's fantastic, rather than using those sort of cheapo radios that they tend to come with. It's much nicer to fly it, and much more adjustable to fly it on this radio. You know, you can set it up so much more precisely. And I mean, those little helicopters are fantastic as they are, but it makes them even better that you can buy it without the radio, so it's cheaper, and I can fly it with this radio. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. So I love it. Dislikes. Okay, let's go through issues. Now, this isn't specific to this radio. This is the majority of radios. Futaba, I think, are one of the worst at this, and they give you this lovely manual. Now, this manual is all in English. So that whole manual is in English. So that gives you an idea of the kind of functions that this thing will do, you know, pretty much anything you want. Now, which is great, and, you know, if you find something, you know, aileron differential, it will show you how to set it up and do that. But there are things in here that I don't understand what they are, and when you read the instruction manual, it kind of tells you how to activate them, but it doesn't tell you what they are or what they do. And there's these little folders and this little grouping function that's in there, and I still haven't sussed out, you know, how to use it or how to utilise it. It might be something that I'm never going to use, so it's not an issue for me, and it's not something I miss because I've never used it. But there is something in there with these little folders and this little grouping system that it might be a useful thing, I don't know, but I just don't understand it, and I am working on trying to work it out. But you know, I'll see. But it's little things like that. But we all know these manuals are very much like that, and that's why you have, like, the idiot's guides are quite popular for the Futaba radios. I tend to just sit there and try and work it out myself using this and YouTube and things like that. But at the end of the day, it is, some of the stuff in here is quite complicated. It's certainly not a beginner's radio, it's an advanced system. You could just use it on a very basic plane if you so wished, and it's quite straightforward to set up the basics. But even things like the system for dual rates and exponential, I'm still not quite got my head around it. And if you kind of start setting it up in the wrong way, it's like, oh no, I've now got to delete all that and start again, kind of thing. It's a bit weird the way the dual rates and the explanation is kind of split into two completely separate sections, and I kind of understand it, but I preferred the way Futaba used to do it. But I'm kind of getting there now with it. But again, these are all little things that you'll always get with a more complicated radio. Some of the stuff to me seems complicated for complicated sake. But overall, I absolutely love it. This is now where, when I bought the 14SG, I knew I wasn't going to have it for that long. I knew it wasn't going to be a long-term radio for me, but when I've got this, this is going to be probably, you know, 5 years plus, I suspect, this radio. I can't see any reason why I'd want to go on to something else. There's nothing more that I really want. A lot of the stuff that you get over and above this radio, you get into sort of really gimmicky stuff, which I don't need. So anyway, I'll wrap it up there. That's my review of the Futaba 16SN. Once I've used it for a bit longer, I might do a follow-up review, see how we're getting on. But I've had it for a couple of months now. I've not done an awful lot of flying because it's been terrible weather in the UK for the past 3 months. So once I've done a little bit more flying, I will do another update and see how we're getting on. But for now, this is GRVOTV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions, with the wonderful Futaba T16SC. Anyway, cheers for that. See you soon. Bye.